always liked staying at my older sister Teresa's house and babysitting my little niece Chloe. My sister's house was big and nice compared to my crappy small apartment, and Chloe was very sweet and well behaved. Teresa's fridge and pantry was always stacked with delicious food, and she had practically every streaming service on her Roku. Pretty much the only thing I disliked about that house was Rivet. Chloe's favorite toy was a big talking stuffed frog that she simply called Rivet. Rivet had a dopey voice that simultaneously sounded like a bad impression of Goofy, Barney and Patrick Star all at once. His dialogue consisted of 3 phrases, Ribbit Ribbit Ribbit, I love you, and childish giggling. Each time I came over to babysit Chloe, the first few hours would go fine without a hitch. We would do things like play hide and seek, or eat snacks. It was only when we watched TV together that things went south for me. Chloe would insist on bringing Ribbit downstairs to watch TV with us, and that stupid frog would always distract from whatever show we were watching with his dumb voice and repetitive dialogue. I remember one night when we were watching Moana, I politely asked Chloe if we could take Ribbit upstairs. She looked down at her toy, then back at me. "But don't you love Ribbit?" she asked. "Of course I do," I lied. "But he's a little loud, and it's hard for me to hear the movie." She looked back and forth, from Ribbit to me, then back to Ribbit. She then hugged the frog tightly, causing him to giggle. It was clear Chloe had made up her mind. No matter how much I tried to politely pursue it or bribe Chloe each night, she refused to part ways with Ribbit whenever we watched TV. It was getting harder and harder to hide my irritation with that frog each time I babysat. One day, I decided I would shut Ribbit up once and for all. Teresa and her husband Colin were away for the night, and as soon as Chloe was asleep, I got to work. I slowly crept up to her bedroom, where she lay fast asleep beneath her My Little Pony comforter, with Ribbit by her side. I carefully reached over with both hands and lifted Ribbit out of the bed. "I love you," the frog said. I flinched and looked down at Chloe. She was still asleep. I sighed with relief. She had always been a heavy sleeper, which is why I enjoyed babysitting her in spite of Ribbit getting on my nerves. Carefully, I took Ribbit downstairs, placed him on the table, and grabbed a set of scissors. As I approached the toy, I heard something that nearly made me drop the scissors in shock. "Don't touch me, you bitch." I looked around, my heart beating rapidly, but didn't see anyone else in the room with me. Did Ribbit have a 4th phrase I didn't know about? I gently touched Ribbit. He just made his trademark giggling sound, causing me to sigh with relief. Just my imagination. I then got to work, cutting open his stomach before yanking his voice box out from within the cotton. After stitching the now silent Ribbit back up and placing him back in Chloe's bed upstairs, I went out to the backyard, dug a small hole in the corner by the fence, and buried the voice box where I hoped no one would find it. As I went back inside and lay down on the couch to sleep, I hoped neither Chloe nor her parents would be too upset with me for taking Ribbit's voice. The next morning, I was woken up by the sound of Ribbit's voice giggling. I turned to see Chloe standing by the couch holding her stuffed frog in her hands. "Ribbit Ribbit Ribbit." I blinked a few times as I remembered last night. I had removed Ribbit's voice box. How the hell was he speaking again? "I love you." I noticed Chloe's mouth moving along with Ribbit's voice. Was she doing some sort of reverse ventriloquist trick where she was pretending the frog's voice was coming from her instead of the toy? She then placed Ribbit on the couch next to me, and headed into the kitchen. I then heard Ribbit's distinctive dopey giggle, but it wasn't coming from the toy by my side. It was coming from the kitchen, where Chloe was. Confused, I squeezed the stuffed frog. I couldn't feel any voice box inside. "Help me." My heart stopped. That was Chloe's voice. But it had come from Ribbit. I touched the frog again. "Help me, please." Chloe's voice cried out a second time. As I tried to figure out what was going on, I heard Ribbit's voice emit from the kitchen. "I told you not to touch me, you bitch."